there's the legend of a car as old as time, forged from the blood, sweat, and tears of 1,000 travelers, immortal, destined to wander this earth through the ages until the one comes who will finally wear it out, carry its message, and set it free.
I thought it was all over when I hit that telephone pole. I spent most of my life just tooling around in North Dakota. Cold, bored, with nowhere to go and very slowly not getting there. Then, crash, it was all over. I was pronounced dead after that accident, but they were mistaken. A few local kids found me and wanted to have an adventure. Little did I know, life was just beginning. No one thinks I'm more than this tiny visage, but I feel the distant echoes of wildness creaking in my bones. I hear the resonance of freedom rumbling through my body. I've always thought I was here to do something important. Maybe share a message? Time to get out there and find it, whatever it is. Let's go have an adventure.
The traveler was on a quest to live freely, seek truth, and find adventure.
I don't know what to do now. My name's Sam Salwei, part of the YogaSlackers. It's a group of people who just travel around, living simply, teaching yoga, slacklining, and just generally having fun.
Life is such a beautiful game, but so many of us got a bogus copy of the rules. It was meant to be fun. And people start to remember when they're around Sam. That's his magic.
Along the way, he found a muse who shared in his wanderlust and penchant for discomfort. He wooed her to his side, and she went away with him, for she wanted to fly.
The first time the car felt like home was actually after we went to Hawaii for 3 months last year. And just coming back, I remember the mechanic brought it in and I saw it. And I got like that cozy feeling that you feel when you go back home. It's just a car, but now it's home for me. I love him as much as anyone loves their home.
People need to learn how to play again. There's not enough joy in the world. Life looks different when you're upside down, or when you're tired, cold, and hungry, or when you're lost and the sun went down. New perspective rarely comes easily, and comfort is a seductive rest stop on the road to discovery.
But even the immortals must move on. The car was rusted beyond repair. Instead of desperation, the travelers chose celebration. With a tank full of gas and hearts full of hope, they set off on the grandest adventure yet.
Bright.
It's snowing outside.
No, it's not. Go to bed.
The way we decided to do this, I was first time traveling with Sam, and we had to drive from Vermont to Colorado, and it was, I don't know, 30 hours. I'm from Puerto Rico. The longest road trip is 4 to 5 hours. So I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, like, all these states that we're crossing by that I'm not getting to see. And I remember reading Dean Karnazes, that he did 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 states. If we can do that, we can do the same, teach him. So I pitched the idea to Sam right there, and he's like, no, that's crazy. And then when the mechanic told us, maybe a few months later, that the car was dying and that this is it, you get the most 2 years out of this car, we revisited the idea. It's like, okay, so maybe instead of doing 50 stays on 50 days, can we do 50 stays over a year? And that's how it started.
So we're about to start our 30,000 plus mile road trip. The car has 420,183 miles. So when I heard the car was gonna die, I didn't really have a response to that. I guess I'm still in denial. Just because it's broke so many times, and we've resurrected it through the internet, through a community of friends that I've established through traveling, through random acts of engineering. We've always been able to keep the car moving through just enormous odds. So hearing the car is going to die is still really unbelievable to me. The word Wanderlust means to me just always wanting more, I guess, and wanting to experience things on a different level, and in a good way never being satisfied with where you are. It's good to sit where you are and understand happiness, but Wanderlust kind of embodies that idea of constantly trying to make yourself better, to make communities better, to smile more, see more happiness, just do fun things all the time.
During this year, we tried to find the definition for Wanderlust, so we asked a lot of people what Wanderlust means. To me, Wanderlust is that feeling of whenever you're home, you feel like you need to be somewhere else, traveling and experimenting new things. But at the same time, while you are traveling, you're trying to find that sense of home.
Traveling also forces you to experience normal things in a different way, because the routine is different, even though it's sort of a routine, like washing clothes or something. So you just tend to make those mundane moments more exciting by doing a handstand or doing acrobatics. And I think you tend to do it more when you're traveling because you're in a different place, so you feel okay to be different. And I think that's one thing that people that aren't traveling all the time could take back with them from this, is you don't, just because you're in the same place doing the same thing all the time doesn't mean you have to do the same thing all the time.
There's a lot to be found out here in the silence of the sojourn. The real you doesn't make a lot of noise. You have to listen for it. Shh. Listen. You can hear it rustling through the treetops in the quiet of twilight. That's you. All of it. Never mind that for a moment. Let's play a game. How's your balance? Did you know you're beautiful? But don't get hung up on that. Unbridled ego is a bad horse for an adventure.
Breeze falling unseen, rising sleepy wings.
The car was getting tired, starting to show its age, but its strong spirit held it together, intent on carrying its message and its passengers, proving that anyone with a small purse and a big dream can have the adventure of a lifetime.
I mean, Sam is the only reason this kind of works. He makes anything work. I remember the first time the transmission broke, he knew it was a transmission, and he's like, yeah, well, just gonna have to change it. And I'm freaking out, how do you change a transmission? And he's like, no, we've done it before. And he had the plan of how to do it and where to get the stuff and how long it was gonna take. And in less than a day, transmission is on and we're driving again. So if you wanna be on a road trip with someone, find your own Sam. Not mine.
The craziest, our most involved breakdown was we blew a back shock. Actually broke the welds that hold the shock onto the axle. And we were in Newfoundland, so up in as far northeast as you can go in North America. We had 15 hours before we got anywhere where there was anyone. We just ingeniously hooked up our little Sony action camera and a Night Eyes light so we could monitor the shock from the tablet inside. So we just continued to drive, we just kept a really close eye on the damage to make sure it wasn't getting any worse. We did that all the way down to Rhode Island. So we went from Newfoundland down to Rhode Island, where I have a friend who's actually a blacksmith. We now like to say that the nicest part of the car, no one will ever see. We're always putting constraints and limits on all of our activities, and you know, there's speed limits, there's these kind of limits, and some limits make a lot of sense, but there's other limits that you place on yourself that don't make any sense at all.
So, the reason I pulled you over is for going too slow.
Yeah, and in the hills it just doesn't go right now. I need a new engine, but I don't have time to put it in yet.
I think anytime you spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with someone, or even yourself, you run into conflicts.
I think the lowest moment of the trip was actually the highest at the same time, because we had a huge fight. We had a huge fight on the way to Alaska.
And we just had a really big meltdown on communication. She insisted that I just leave her on the side of the road in the middle of wherever we were. Luckily, I didn't decide that that was a good idea.
You're mad in the car for like half an hour, and you get tired of looking out the window, so you need to figure it out. And that's pretty much what happens.
Every car that's gone by has 3 gas cans.
I don't think we needed it, because I passed like 4 gas stations yesterday.
Yeah.
But they were closed.
After something is completely broken down, it's a really good opportunity to rebuild on it.
It was kind of those fights in which it's a fix it or break it situation, and we fixed it. So it's like we went to the lowest point of our relationship, and then we came out of it much more stronger. And I think that's why I enjoyed so much the trip to Alaska. It's like my happiest moment in the entire trip.
Things got a lot more peaceful, I guess, because we had kind of like cleared everything off and got to start fresh again. So I learned, going from traveling by myself to traveling with someone, that communication is a very important part of being human.
It was never about the destination, but the car, in its wisdom, knew that sometimes we need to get really far out there to understand what has been with us all along.
I think the world will be a much better place if everyone traveled.
I think it's been a very unique process for me, going from an extended road trip to a really extended road trip to realizing that it's a lifestyle and it's just become my life. And I can't really imagine doing it any other way. I don't really see the need to be in one location for very long.
Not just once, and not just for like a weekend or a week, but to really go out there and meet other people. And see them as they are. See them like we're all going through the same things. We're just doing it in different languages.
I think with any object, you tend to use it to store your memories. And because the car's been with me so long, that there's a lot of that caught up in it.
I think the piece of car has a soul. And it's the soul of a traveler.
Yeah, the car's taught me about life in that there's no real need to give up on anything ever.
In the grand expanse of ocean, ice, and mountains, playing among ancient giants, you feel tiny, almost non-existent. So small you slip inside the sea and forget the old thought that you're separate from all this. But you know you aren't. All of this is you. The places you left, the places you went to, the people you played with and the ones who stayed on the sideline. Even this moment, and all you see, this is you playing in the rolling memory of ages past. That is you creaking down the mountain, melting into yourself, and flowing out into the ocean to get lost in the rest of you. Remember that. Take it with you as you venture back out. Everywhere you go, there you find yourself again.
There's the legend of a car, as old as time, energized by the blood, sweat, and tears of 2 travelers, worn down, rusted out, and ready for rest. The end of the car is coming, but its soul will forever travel on, in the lives of those it carried, and in the lives of those it encountered on the road to Wanderlust. Because that's what it truly means to be immortal.